Okay, so today we're going to learn about how to draw orthographic projections of 3D objects in AutoCAD. And this is something that we did with our freehand sketching. And it's actually, in my opinion, much easier to do um, with a computer using AutoCAD. And today I'm going to model that for you. Keep in mind that when we drew these orthographic projections, freehand, we included hidden lines for hidden features. And I'm going to show you how to do that today as well. So let's get started. So let me open a new tab up and start with the front view. So we're always going to put the front view in the corner here. So this one's going to have an L shape. As I start doing these, I'm not going to draw any of the hidden lines. I'm just going to draw object lines to start. And then I'll work my way back and draw in the hidden lines. So I'll start by drawing a line for this vertical one here that's 1 3/4. So I'll start at 0, 0, and I'll draw it vertically, 1.75. I'm not going to be able to see it because it's so small, so I'm going to need to zoom in a bit. Draw a line here that starts at the origin and goes the length of this, which is 4 3/4. So I'm taking 4.75. Then I'm going to draw this line here, this vertical portion. And if I look over here, it tells me that this is 3/4 of an inch tall. So it's 0.75. And I'll go start a new line. I'll go from this corner in. And if I look over here, it tells me that it goes in here, 1 inch. And then I go down, and I go down. Okay, it doesn't really give me a measurement here, but it does give me a measurement on the outside. It's 1 3/4. I know this is 3/4, so this must be 1 inch. And then I'll just connect these two. Okay, great. We're doing great. All we need to do is draw this line here, and we're done with our front view minus our hidden lines. So we'll draw a line. And if I look over here, this is 1 1/4 inches in. So actually, I have a line here. Why not just offset it 1.25 inches to the left? Great. There is my front view. Now what I'm going to do next is going to help me a lot. There's one of these construction line options I haven't shown you how to use yet. Is very useful for orthographic projection. And it's called automatic construction lines. And what this does is it allows you to select an object and it'll automatically create construction lines that go in whatever direction you select. Now, I'm going to just have it go in every direction. And I'm going to select all of this. The way I'm able to select everything here is I click and I move my mouse. I don't click and hold my mouse, because if I click and hold my mouse, I get a lasso. I click, I hold my mouse, move it over, and click again. I hit enter, and it automatically generates construction lines that go in every direction. One note on these construction lines, though. They make two separate rays. It's not one construction line that goes vertically, it gets broken up. So if I were to delete this line, there wouldn't be a construction line behind it like we normally would. So it's a little bit different in that sense. Otherwise, these construction lines are the same. This is very, very useful for what we're doing right now. Now I'm going to work on my top view. So now that we're starting our top view, we need to know what space we need to create between views. Usually we would have covered this by now, but because we skipped past mechanical drafting, we haven't talked about it yet. The space that we're going to maintain between our views is 1.25 inches. Now this isn't a requirement. There is no hard and fast rule about this, but for these it is a requirement because it just makes everything fit nicely. If our scale was much bigger, if we had much bigger objects, we'd obviously want to create more space between our views. If we had much smaller objects, we'd obviously want to have less space between our views. But for this, 1.25 is really the perfect amount. So we're going to hit, in order to do this, we're going to hit offset, or do 1.25 inches. And we're going to offset these construction lines that far. Now, this is a little annoying because we didn't have a construction line that goes all the way through over here. We kind of have a little bit of a break in this section. So I'm just going to create a new construction line that goes horizontally through here. So I have everything filled in. Now what I'm going to do, and you can kind of go through and delete those other two if you want, so you just have one. That's fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an offset construction line from the line I just drew. This is the start of my top view. Now what is this dimension? You know, I have height and width here. This is my top view. I have width and depth going in this direction. So my depth is 2 5/8, which is what I'll need to type in here. So I'll do offset 2 5/8. That math's a little bit tricky for me. Let me think for a second. 2.625. Okay. And I offset that. Click. Hit enter, escape. I'm done. I've created the bounding box for my top view. And, you know, might as well, I'll draw a rectangle here. Okay. Now I have these two projection lines. Let's figure out what they're for. This projection line here, that's going to be for this line over here. So I'm going to draw a line there. Okay. Now this projection line, what does that line up with? Let's look over here. Well, it's this line over here that creates that projection of width. This line. So that's this cutout here. So we're going to have from this red line two lines that extend at this angle here, 30 degrees. So I'm going to type in line, start here. I want to go at 30 degrees, so I'm going to hit tab, 30, enter, and then I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're working with. I'm going to trim, and get rid of that extension, and then I'm going to mirror this to the opposite side. Be careful. Let's say I haven't mirrored yet and I decided to trim my corner. If I wanted to mirror this edge over to the other side, my midpoint is suddenly in a totally different place because I've cut this line short. So be careful with that. That's why I'm not trimming this corner until you mirror to the other side. Got a little crossed up there. Okay, now I have those two corners. Now I should trim. Okay, job done. Now I'll take care of these two object lines here. If I look over, this is 3/4 of an inch in. So line. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll offset this construction line here up 3/4 of an inch. So 0.75 up 3/4 of an inch. And if I do some math here, I can actually figure out that this distance is also 3/4 of an inch. If I did 2 5/8 minus 1 1/8 and 3/4, I can see that this is also 3/4 of an inch. Alternatively, I can just select this line and go up another 1 1/8 inches, so 1.125. And I've set up the positioning for these two lines. The nice thing about these construction lines going forever in both directions is I'm already setting up my projections when I'm drawing, because I'm going to need to project these features over to my right side view. All right, I'm almost done with my top view. I just need to do this indent here. Now, I know this indent extends 2¼ inches in, but I need to figure out where it starts. Okay, let's see. Over here, it says it starts 1 inch in. So I'm going to do the offset again, 1 inch. I'm going to offset this construction line up 1 inch. And then I'm going to do, okay, I look at it, 1 inch, and then it's another 5/8 of an inch to the end of the indent. So I'll type in 5 divided by 8 and hit enter. And then I can start my indent. I can draw a line that goes 2 1/4 inches, so 2.25. And it goes down till it hits here, and down till it hits there. And I can trim so that this is gone. Okay, this is all good and set up. Now I need to make sure that I've projected all of my features of depth over, because in a second I'm going to need to draw in my miter line. So it looks like everything is good, but there's actually a trap here, a little trick. If you zoom in, you'll notice this construction line and this corner are very close together. But this construction line actually matches this line here. The two do not line up, even though they're very close together. So I'm actually going to need to draw construction lines that go through here and here. Okay. Next, I need to draw my miter line. Now, for my miter line, I like to do something a little bit different. Some other teachers do this a little bit differently, but I like to make it a different color, and I like to make sure it only goes in one direction and not both. So instead of using a regular construction line that goes forever in both directions, I use the type of construction line that only goes in one direction, type of line that only goes in one direction. So that is a ray. So I'm actually just going to type in ray, R-A-Y, select here, and then it'll prompt me to select a through point or an angle. So I'm going to hit tab, and if you remember, our miter lines are always 45 degrees. So there's our miter line. I'm going to change the color of it. I'm going to go to properties here. So I would right click on the line. Let me escape this. I'm going to select the line, right click on it, and go to properties, and then I can change the color of the line. I like to make mine green. Now I've already projected all my features of height over from my right side view. Now I have to project all my features of depth over from my top view. I've already projected them over to the right, but now I need to project them down. So I'm going to go into construction line, and I'm going to select a vertical construction line. And everywhere where my construction lines intersect with my miter line, I will draw a vertical construction line. Okay, and this should have almost everything I need for my right side view. It exists within here. And what you'll see actually is this distance between these two views is going to be 1.25, just like over here. If I went into measure, actually I need to go into here and measure distance, and I measured this distance, well, I'll get 1.25. Okay, so you know that the distance between views is correct. Now, just like before, I'm going to draw a rectangle. So I know that everything exists within here. If I imagine this from the right side view, I know there's going to be a line that goes across here. Now I have to be careful because I'm drawing this bottom part, but there are construction lines here that describe what's going on up top. So I'm first going to look at this section here, wherever this line should be. That's going to come from this corner here. So I'm just going to trace that. I'm going to select that construction line and make sure I'm selecting all the correct things. So I selected that construction line. This is the construction line that gets generated when it intersects the miter line. So that's the one I'm going to use. And I'm going to draw a line right there. So it's the further in one, the one that's closer to the edge. And then I can mirror it to the other side, or just know it's the further in one on the right side as well, and draw that there. Then there's going to be another line here and here. That's these two on the ends. Okay, now there's going to be this line here. That's going to be 1/2 inch down from the top for this line here that goes across. So I'm going to type in offset 0.5, click on this, and go down and enter. Okay, so that'll be it for part 1. We're going to resume from part 2 in a moment. So you can click over to the part 2 video now.